Hello, it's Jess. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing an adorable Heffy Doodle card featuring an assortment of goodies, including the Unbearable Without You stamp set. As you can tell, mine has been well loved. I'm a huge fan of the tiny craft supplies and snacks because, well, they go hand in hand. Speaking of hands, I love that the coordinating die has an interior cut line that allows you to tuck in all the essentials. For the card front, we'll be using the new Slimline mini mail die set. I love that it has a tiny envelope for you to create a miniature version of a greeting card. We'll also be using the Heffy Doodle straight slider die set, but not as an interactive feature, but for sentiment strips. To create the background, we'll be ink blending. Here's a little peek at what we're aiming for. This is the first time I'm creating a portrait slimline scene, and my idea was to have the bear creating a greeting card at the top and then sending it out on the bottom of the card. I wanted to have the bear grounded and not just floating in the air, so I created little half circle masks with Memo tape. I pulled out my waffle flower media mat and started at the bottom with picked raspberry. It's my newest color, so I had to show it lots of love today. I like to start off the paper and lightly apply color at first. Next up is spiced marmalade. Again, I like to start with a light hand, that way I can always apply more color if needed. Now on to squeezed lemonade. I love adding squeezed lemonade beside spiced marmalade because together they look like a super fun drink. Next up is Salvaged Patina, yet another new addition to my craft space, so super excited to feature it today. And I love that we're getting some bonus green tones to complete the rainbow. I love how seamless it is to create your own scenes using Heffy Memo tape as a mask. And finally, we're going to finish off with more picked raspberry. Off camera, I reacted the ink using a water brush, small clean stamping block, and dabbing with paper towel. Now for the reveal. Next up, it's time to color in these cuties. Today I'm going to be using Spectrum Noir TriBlend markers, and I chose the tan blend for the bears. When I'm coloring in small images, I start with the darkest tone first in areas where I think there will be the most shadows, usually under the neck or paws, for example. If you're just starting out and not sure where a shadow would be, just pick a side or an area and go with it. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you get the appearance of shading. I sped up the process a tiny bit, but next we're on to the medium tone. And finally, we're moving on to the lightest tone. I'm basically saturating the rest of the surface, blending everything together. All that's left is adding highlights, a little blush with my coral blend, and freckles, and we're all done. For the craft supplies, I decided to make the markers Copics. I had an IG1 close by and went with it. Anyone else craft using what's closest to you at the moment? Guilty! For the rest of the supplies, I'm pulling colors from our background, so everything coordinates nicely. I do love turquoise, pink, and purple, so almost every time I create craft supplies on a card, that's what I gravitate to. I wish we had a tiny little bear image, but we're gonna have to settle for a tiny heart. For the inside of our tiny little card, the sentiments from Whatcha Sayin' Now fit perfectly. I probably should have scored the little card after I stamped the sentiment, but we'll make it work. Yay, success! With the stamping block, it's always touch and go, for me anyways. Next, we're going to assemble the mini envelope with just a touch of glue. For the main sentiment, we're going to pair the Heffy Cuts Hey Word die with, instead of texting, I made this card, which is a sentiment from an older set in my stash. For a layered look, I die cut the hay 3 times, 2 times with white cardstock and once with black cardstock. I love using this glue because it gives me just enough wiggle room to move things around at the last minute and everything dries clear. For the stamped sentiment on the main card, I did have to perform a little bit of stamp surgery, but I think it was worth it in the end. All that's left is arranging everything on the card front. We're going to keep the sentiments in the center and build the rest of the scene. For a little dimension, I added 3D foam tape and we'll stick everything in place. For the before scene, we'll tuck in all the little accessories, and in hindsight, I should have probably added a snack or two. Again, we'll add foam tape, making sure to avoid any of the items that we've tucked into place. And of course, no card is complete without coordinating sequins. And that's the card. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're interested in a color map, be sure to check out my Instagram post for all the details. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're interested in any of the supplies, they are listed below. Until next time.